How to file the 2018-2019 FAFSA. I will walk you step by step through filling out the 2018-2019 FAFSA. One of the most common questions people ask is, do we need to have our taxes completed before we file the FAFSA? The answer is, the 2018-2019 FAFSA requires you to use your 2016 tax information. You should have filed your 2016 taxes by October 1st, even with the filed extension. If your financial situation has changed since you filed your 2016 taxes, you are still required to use the information to complete the 2018-2019 FAFSA. You are instructed within the FAFSA to submit documentation on your current financial situation to your institution's financial aid office. If your situation qualifies, they have the authority to make corrections on your behalf. Before we get started, you will need dates of birth of student and parents, Social Security numbers, and the exact name on the Social Security card for both the student and parents, a copy of your 2016 tax return, and a summary of the assets in parents' and students' names. After you gather that information, go to www.fafsa.ed.gov. Click Start a New FAFSA to begin. Once you click to start a new FAFSA, you will be prompted for the student's FSA ID. This is the Federal Student Aid ID. The student and one parent in the household are each required to register for the FSA ID. This can be done before the FAFSA filing process by going to fsaid.ed.gov or as an additional step during the FAFSA filing process by clicking on Create an FSA ID. If you wish to create your FSA ID later, you must enter the student's first name, the student's last name, the student's Social Security number, and the student's date of birth. One important thing to note throughout the FAFSA, whenever it says you or your, it is referring to the student. Whenever it says your parent, it is referring to the student's parent or the person most likely filling out the FAFSA form. Remember to always begin with the student's information. After you verify the information, you will be asked to choose the year of the FAFSA that you are filing. For freshmen entering in this coming fall, you will choose Start the 2018-2019 FAFSA. Next, you will be asked to create a save key. The save key allows you to return to an application later if you need to stop and save your work or make a correction. It also allows you to share access to your application if your parent needs to add information, make a correction, or sign the FAFSA. Please take note of the banner on the side of the page. This banner will display whose information is being requested, student or parent. This screen just collects basic demographic information like your name, address, and phone number, and the number of years at your current address. If the student is a male, they will want to know if he registered for the Selective Service. If he is over 18 and has not yet registered for the Selective Service, you can check a box asking FAFSA to register the student. Just as a reminder, all of the questions pertain to the student and not to the parent. The parent questions will come later on. Where you are asked marital status, they are referring to the student's marital status. Please be certain to select single. If you select the wrong marital status, it could cause problems later on. Make sure you report a personal email address that you consistently view. Since correspondence from Federal Student Aid and your state grants and scholarships agency will be contacting you via that email address. Next, you will want to answer all the questions on this page. Are you a U.S. citizen? Are you registered with the Selective Service? This is where you will check the box allowing FAFSA to register you. When will you be in college in 2018-2019 academic year? What will your high school completion status be? So for a high school student, a high school senior now, they will select high school diploma. When you begin the 2018-2019 academic year, what degree or certificate will you be working on? It would be first associates or first bachelor's. I would recommend that you check yes for are you interested in being considered for work study, as you can always turn it down later on. The next question pertains to foster youth and asks if you were at any time in the foster youth system. You should answer yes to this question even if you are no longer a foster youth. The next question pertains to the highest level of education attained by both parents. Again, remember it says completed, so if they have some college, the highest level completed would be high school. The last question on this page is asking if you were convicted of a drug offense while receiving federal financial aid. This will not pertain to the FAFSA this year. However, if you are convicted of a drug offense while receiving financial aid, you will lose your eligibility. The next screen is collecting more demographic information. You must provide the name of the high school the student attended. I would leave the name blank and just enter the city where your high school is located, the state where your high school is located, then select from the list and confirm. Once you confirmed and added your high school, you will be asked to enter the colleges where you would like this information sent. You can send it to up to 10 colleges you are interested in at one time. If you are applying to more than 10 schools, you will have to wait until this FAFSA is processed and then do a correction where you will release the information to the additional schools. You can either enter the codes from the college's website or search for the codes now. One thing to watch out for is some schools have more than one code. Typically, a graduate program code starts with an E. So if there is more than one code and one of them starts with an E, it is probably not the code you are looking for. You will want to verify the codes and make sure this information gets where it belongs on time. Please note that colleges can only view the FAFSA information. They do not know what other schools you have listed and in what order. I recommend that you add all schools you may be interested in and also a school from your home state. When you add a school, they will receive the FAFSA information only. When you add a school from your state of residence, your state agency may estimate a state grant award that may be received if the student stays and attends an in-state school. Most states do not allow their residents to take the grant to an out-of-state institution. There is no obligation to apply for admissions to the schools listed. Therefore, if you don't apply to an institution listed on the FAFSA, your aid will not be processed by them. Once the school has been added to your application, you will need to select your housing plans for each school, either on campus, off campus, which means in an apartment but not with your parents, or with your parents, in which case you may be commuting to school. The next screen is used to determine the dependency status of the student who is filling this application out. Most students who are graduating from high school in 2018 are currently living at home with their parents. The answer to most of these questions will be no. In some circumstances, you would answer yes. If you do answer yes to even one of these questions, the student is deemed to be an independent student. As you click no, you will notice additional questions will come up until you've answered all of the questions. The next screen gives you the results of your dependency status determination. If you are determined to be a dependent student, you are required to enter your parents' information. Every school has the ability to exercise professional judgment on a case-by-case basis, but it is very rare for schools to allow dependent students to not submit their parental information. Here you will enter your parents' demographic information. When you answer your parents' marital status, the screen will expand to ask information about your parents. You will only be asked the information for the parents you are using to fill out this form. In the case of a divorced or separated parent, it should be your custodial parent who is submitting the information. If the custodial parent is remarried, it is the custodial parent and his or her new spouse whose information is being submitted on this form. In the case of joint custody or truly splitting 50% of the time with each parent, it should be the parent who provides more than 50% of the support who answers these questions. They also do ask the date of the parent's marital status. If they are still married, they are asking for the month and year they were married. If they are currently divorced or separated, they will ask for the month and year they were divorced or separated. If your parents were never married and are living together, you will have to report both parents' income. You have to enter in the date of birth, social security number, last name, and first initial for all the parents you are entering. Entering parents' email address. I recommend that you enter the parent's email address since in most cases it is the parent who is going to be filling out the financial aid form. The household size must be reported. This includes all people who live with you more than 50% of the time. In the case of a divorced or separated family, if one of your children lives with you more than half the time, but you do not claim them on the tax return, you can still count them in your household size. You can also count elderly parents who may be living with you and anyone else for whom you provide 50% of the support. The number in college is as of the next fall and not currently, so it should be currently at least 1. Once you enter that information, you click Next. Next, they are going to ask for the parent's 2016 income tax information. Unless your parents filed an extension beyond October 1, 2017, you should answer already completed to this question. At this point, you may be eligible to link to the IRS data retrieval tool. If you are eligible, you will be directed through the IRS data retrieval tool process. Warning text appears as the 2018-2019 IRS data retrieval tool site is displayed. Click OK to continue. Even though the fields at the top are pre-filled based on FAFSA responses, the first name, last name, date of birth, and the filing status can be updated on this page. The Social Security number cannot be updated. You must complete this demographics page with the information as it is reported on the actual tax return. After all data is entered, please click Submit to retrieve IRS data or Return to FAFSA to discontinue use of the IRS data retrieval tool and return to the FAFSA. The user can check the Transfer My Tax Information box and click Transfer Now to carry this data back to the FAFSA. The user can check the Do Not Transfer box and click Do Not Transfer to discontinue use of the IRS data retrieval tool and return to the FAFSA. The user can also click Print this page icon in order to print the data that is displayed on this page. This next page is where they start gathering your actual financial information. If you use the data retrieval tool, you will see that information that was populated through the IRS data retrieval process is blocked. However, you will also see transferred from the IRS. Please do not overtype these fields. Doing so may cause an error. Institutions and state agencies will see the data that was transferred from the IRS. Whichever filing status you have, you will still have to assure all questions are answered correctly. They will want to know what type of tax return you file. For most people, it would be a 1040. If you are eligible to file a 1040A or 1040EZ, it is important to know that. If you do choose to file a 1040, they will then ask if you are eligible to file one of those other forms. The reason is that this is one of the witness tests to qualify for simplified needs analysis, where they do not look at your assets. If you check don't know, they would consider that the same as a no, and you would not be eligible for the simplified needs analysis. So make sure that if you are eligible to file those forms, you are aware of it. The parent's adjusted gross income will automatically populate through the IRS data retrieval tool. Next, you will have to enter the amount of the total income earned from work for parent 1 and parent 2. This number is much different than the adjusted gross income and is not used to calculate your expected family contribution. Instead, it is used for calculating your Social Security allowance. The information from your parent 1 and parent 2's income from work should come from box 5 on the W-2 or from your paycheck stub, your total 2016 year-to-date earnings. You do not subtract any pre-tax deductions. Finally, they will ask you if either parent is a dislocated worker. There will be more information on that in the Help and Hints box. If your parent has been laid off or received notification that they will be laid off, they are considered a dislocated worker, in which case they may not look at the parent's assets in calculating the expected family contribution. You should also report any federal benefits received. In the next screen, where they ask you for the amount of your parent's income tax, that should be transferred from the IRS data retrieval tool. If you were not able to use the data retrieval tool, that amount is typically found on line 55 of the 1040. The exact line number will be in the Help and Hints box. It is not the amount you have withheld from your income, but the amount you actually ended up paying total for the year. Parents' exemptions will be transferred from the data retrieval tool. The other boxes are either information that helps you in that they deduct child support paid and taxable earnings from work study from your income, or other untaxed sources from your income that are added back into your income. Some of these may be transferred from the IRS data retrieval tool. The rest of the screens are dealing with student information. The first one is, have you completed your IRS tax return? For most, we are going to select will not file and report any income earned. If the student did file taxes, they will select already completed. Then the IRS data retrieval process should be used. This screen asks you for the type of tax return you already filed, which generally is 1040EZ. You will notice that when the IRS data retrieval tool is used, it will state transferred from the IRS and the information will be blocked. The next screen asks for the amount of your income tax. The amount of your income tax will be populated by the IRS data retrieval tool. Next, it asks for the number of exemptions, so if you are a dependent student, that would be 0. Then it asks for the additional financial questions as it asked the parents before. Child support paid, taxable earnings from work study, also the untaxed income that are add backs such as payments to tax deferred pensions and savings plans and other questions. This is the bottom half of the 2018-2019 Sign and Submit page for the dependent student with the parent signature options and the active confirmation for the parent certification statement. Once you have completed that, then you can click Submit My FAFSA Now. Once you reach the confirmation page, congratulations! You are done the federal portion of your financial aid information. However, your application is not yet complete. As a New Jersey resident, you will need to click through to the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority to answer some additional questions. You must click the orange chevron to transfer to the NJFAMS HESA website and answer questions regarding untaxed Social Security benefits, earned income tax credit, driver's license number, and parent name and Social Security numbers. If you are independent, you would also answer those questions in addition to veterans benefits received, and if you are married, your spouse's name and Social Security number. You will then be considered for New Jersey state aid as well as federal aid. At the green chevron, you can transfer parental data to a sibling's FAFSA application. This will save time by only having to enter the sibling's data on the new FAFSA. Your information will reach the federal processor, who will process it if you signed electronically. Typically, this happens within 3 days. It is then sent to the schools listed on your application. You can also see an estimate of your expected family contribution. That is the amount of money the federal government and school will expect you to pay each year that your child is in college. You do need to reapply for financial aid each year. If your financial situation changes, your expected family contribution could change. If it stays constant, then your EFC should stay fairly constant unless you have an additional child that goes to school. Then they will give you a number in college adjustment. At the bottom of this page, you can click to email yourself a copy of this confirmation. If you need to make corrections, you would go back to www.fafsa.gov and you would have to remember your FSA ID to make those corrections.
Congratulations on completing your FAFSA application.